Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een amma ba'du. So this inshallah is the last class for the What is Dalil series. The last class for the What is Dalil series, which is we already did what is Dalil, right? Who was here from first class? How many was it? How many pieces of Dalil was it?
It was two plus the broken down.
How many pieces of Dalil we talk about? 7? 10?
No, I thought it was 2, and then it's broken down in parts, right?
I just need a number.
I'm just going
6? 10.
10.
We spoke about 10 pieces of Dalil, right? And now what's the next breakdown? 4 of them, everybody agrees it's Dalil. And the other 6, the scholars differ if it's Dalil or not. The 4 that everybody agrees is Dalil, is proof, is what? Quran, Sunnah, Ijma', total agreement of the Sahaba, and Qiyas, comparing the two things. Tayyib. Then we did the 5 rulings, right? Not halal, haram, I'm sorry. Obligatory, haram, makruh, obligatory, haram. Sunnah, recommended, makruh, dislike, and then mubah, which is allowed, permissible. And then we did what is a madhab, right? The madhab. How do the scholars end up with a madhab and what a madhab is? And the last thing we did was the last class was an example of what it looks like when they differ on an issue. And the issue we did was when you line up to pray, should you pray in a row by yourself or not? Right? That whole issue of how they differ and the dalil that everybody uses for each position. Tayyib. So the question is, once we get through all of that, the next thing is, what am I supposed to do as a Muslim when you have 3 different positions, 3 different opinions on the issue, right? We spoke about should you pray in the rank by yourself or not, and the different opinions and the proof for all of the opinions. So a person wants to say, well, what's the strongest opinion, right? What should I do? Everybody with me? And just to make it clear, right, for us, our situation might be a little challenging because in Islamic countries, generally, they all pretty much follow one position. Everybody's going to follow pretty much that one position, so there's really no real back and forth argument like that. You rarely going to see somebody do something out of the ordinary. And if you do see somebody do something out of the ordinary, it might be assumed that they're not from that area, the country, they're from somewhere else. Everybody with me? So now, that's not our situation. We don't have, let's just say, a madhab on paper that we all going by, right? How many madhabs we spoke about? 4. We don't necessarily have one that everybody says we're following this madhab. So what do? We buy books, and we basically read a book. Whatever the book says with the dalil, we follow it, which is fine. That's not a problem. Everybody with me? That's no problem. Actually, that's part of what we're going to go through today. That's not an issue. The issue is when that happens, what does it look like in real time for us? Tayyib. Which is adab al-khilaf. How do we behave when we get to this point? And for example, you choose opinion 1, you choose opinion 2, and you choose opinion 3. Everybody with me? What gives you the audacity to choose the opinion that you chose? How do you get to choose the opinion? Right? Number one, everybody is trying to follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ the best that we can. Starting with the people of knowledge, when they arrive at their final opinion based on the proof and the evidence, they're trying to practice the Quran and Sunnah to the best of their ability. We're not saying they're trying to differ intentionally and cause division or nothing like that, right? They're trying to the best of their ability to follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we reach this point, that okay, the scholars actually differ on the issue and there's three different opinions. We're going to listen to a couple ground rules first before we get to the actual benefit. And there's a couple statements from the ulama regarding this exact issue. This first statement is from Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. He says, وَإِذَا نَزَلَتْ بِالْمُسْلِمْ نَازِلَةً فَإِنَّهُ يَسْتَفْتِي مَنْ اعْتَقَدَ أَنَّهُ يُفْتِيهِ بِشَرْعِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ مِنْ أَيِّ مَذْهَبٍ كَانَ. When one of these issues pop up, what is a person supposed to do? He says a person goes to ask who they believe is going to answer them according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're not asking randoms, as we said. You're supposed to go ask the people who you believe they're going to answer with the Quran and Sunnah, according to Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, regardless of what madhab they follow. So I don't have to reserve my question, for example, for someone who follows the madhab of Imam Shafi. I'm not going to ask him because he's Maliki. I'm not asking him. No, the question is to be, if a person has knowledge, no matter what madhab they follow, you believe they're going to answer based on Quran and Sunnah, you ask the question. Everybody clear? We're not restricted to individual people or in this madhab, you have to do everything that Imam Malik says. You got to do everything Imam Ahmed says. And if not, then you're wrong. Only the four. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, rahimahullah. That was in the second class, I think. Right? طيب. He says after that, وَلَا يَجِبُ على أحد من المسلمين تقليد شخص معين من العلماء في كل ما يقول. And it is not obligatory. It's not obligatory. لا يجب على أحد. For no, it's not obligatory for any Muslim to just follow every statement that one scholar says. Everybody clear? It's not obligatory to follow one statement that every scholar says. One scholar says this, every time he says something, we have to follow what he said. So it's not obligatory to do that. He says, وَلَا يَجِبْ عَلَى أَحَدٍ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ الْتِزَامُ مَذْهَبْ شَخْصٍ مُعَيِّنٍ مِنَ الْعُلَمَاءِ فِي كُلِّ مَا يُجِبُهُ وَيُخْبِرُهُ بِهِ. It's not obligatory to follow everything in the madhab. So for example, we studied in Saudi and Mecca, Saudi in general, the books there, they follow the madhab of Imam Ahmed rahimahullah, Hanbali. So the majority of the books that we get, whether we know it or not, regardless, the majority of the books translated, for the most part, they're on the madhab of Imam Ahmed rahimahullah. We don't say most people don't run around saying they're Hanbali. But if you ask them about their, right, they'll be following that madhab. Just because we studied the Hanbali madhab in the university doesn't mean everything that comes up I have to follow the madhab of the Hanbalis. I might see something that's the dalil is stronger with Imam Abu Hanifa, and I'm following with the dalil, not Imam Ahmed. It's not about Imam Ahmed. It's about the dalil. So if Imam Ahmed said that rahimahullah, he has dalil, but what if I see that Imam Abu Hanifa's statement is stronger, his position, his dalil, the hadith he had, the ayat, then I'm following that one. I'm not stuck to a madhab. Everybody clear? طيب. He said, but, Shaykh al-Islam tell me, but if a person, if a person does follow a madhab, specifically, because you got to be balanced. based on them not being able to distinguish between what's the difference in opinions. They're not able to go through like we did and do all that. Most people are not able to do that on their own. And if a person is like that, he says, then this is allowed for a person like that. Meaning I'm not able to go through all of the dalil of all three positions and all of the dalil and understand why they differ. I'm not able to do all of that. Then what am I to do? A person is allowed to follow a madhab. Are they restricted following that one imam all the time and everything he says? No. There's only one person that we have to follow all the time, which is the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With no disrespect to any of the scholars that we know and love, but nobody has reached that level. Shaykh al-Uthaymeen reached the level of the risala, that they've reached the level of prophethood, that everything they say is revelation and correct, and that we have to follow. طيب. He says, وقال Imam Abu Umar ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah, he said, والواجب عند الاختلاف العلماء طلب الدليل. What's obligatory when it's a difference of opinion is to seek out the proof and the evidence. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking at the person who said it. Many of us have restricted our deen to following what sheikh said it. If this sheikh said it, then I'm just going to follow him. And if that's what you do, there's a place in Islam for that category of people. That's what we need to understand. There's a place in Islam for that category of people. It's a category of people that's allowed for. And then there's also a category of people, and that's not allowed for them to do that. Everybody clear? Tayyib. He said, what's obligatory is trying to find the proof from the Quran, the Sunnah, wal Ijma' wal Qiyas, ala al-usul minha. He said what's obligatory is trying to find a dalil from the four. He only mentioned the four that the scholars agree on: the Quran, the Sunnah. This got to be like the ABCs of Islam, y'all. Huh? Quran, Sunnah. What's Ijma'? What the Sahaba totally agreed on. This has got to be the ABCs of Dalil, inshallah. And the fourth one, Al-Qiyas. What's Qiyas? Analogical deduction, comparing two things. One has a ruling and the other one doesn't. Yes, with the example. We need to know that like the back of our hand. And it doesn't mean that the other six are not from Dalil. Tayyib. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said in another statement, وَاتَّفَقُوا كُلُّهُمْ على أنه ليس أحد معصوم في كل ما يأمر وينهى عن إلا الرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, scholars agree that nobody is free from making a mistake except for the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. Tayyib. Nobody is free from making a mistake in what they command you to do and what they tell you that's haram, what they command you to do and what they tell you to stay away from, except for the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning a sheikh for us, which he is the mujtahid, as the hadith says, the hakam al-hakim, right? If he's correct, according to the hadith, he gets 2 rewards, according to the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If the sheikh is wrong, he gets 1 reward. He still gets a reward. With all respect for the people of knowledge, that according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and according to the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there's nobody ma'soom, nobody free from making a mistake except the Messenger ﷺ. Nobody's statement has to all the time be accepted except the Prophet ﷺ. Tayyib. He says, and for this reason, قال غير واحد من الأئمة كل الناس يأخذ بكلامه ويترك إلا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Every person, we take what they say, and sometimes we reject what they say. Anybody's statement can be accepted or rejected except for the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. All of this is an introduction, so we know the rules when we're looking at, when it comes down to it, right? We're going to be looking at an issue, and there's three opinions on the issue. Some of us are going to say, to some of us, Because Sheikh Al-Albani rahimahullah said position A, I'm taking that, and I have to take that. Every time Sheikh Al-Albani says something, that's what I'm doing. And anybody who doesn't take what Sheikh Al-Albani says, they're going against the dalil. There's people like that, right? It's not correct, but I'm just saying there's people like that. Tayyib. This is the groundwork for how do we act when we get to this point. Once we get to the point, there's three opinions. What are we doing now? Everybody with me? Nobody is free from making a mistake. Any of our scholars could get something right and they could get it wrong, according to the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tayyib. He says, وَهَؤُلَاءِ الْأِمَّةِ الْأَرْبَعِ رَحِمَهُمُ اللَّهِ قَنَّهُ النَّاسِ عَنْ تَقْلِيدِهِمْ. And the four imams that we're talking about, they've been in this famous statements from them. They told people, don't just blind follow me. Take where I took from. If you find a hadith that goes against what I said, throw my statement against the wall, meaning take the hadith. Everybody said that. So nobody from the scholars that we're talking about put any restraints. You have to take what I said. Well, who makes it like that? That you have to take what the sheikh said? Huh? We do that. That's not them. Because their statements say, if what I said goes against what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, basically take what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said and just leave what I said. Don't follow what I said. All of the four imams have said something like this. Tayyib. And we'll do that last. Tayyib. Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he has a book and it's called Al-Khilaf Bayn al-Ulama. Asbabuhu wa mawqifuna minhu. The reasons is called the different amongst the scholars, the reasons they differ, and what are we supposed to do in this case when they differ? What is our position when the scholars differ? And he mentioned about 7 points, and at the end is where we're starting. We're starting at the end. And this is basically the last point, which is what is our position in this case? He says in this case, there's two cases, two situations. We already covered one of them. He said, firstly, when they differ and they come, for example, I'm just using examples, not always three opinions. Sometimes it's two. Sometimes it's three, maybe four. What about one? Huh? Good. If it's only one opinion, then that means it's what? It's ijma. Everybody agrees, total agreement. And that's what you got to remember. If it was one opinion, we wouldn't be arguing. If it was ijma, if the Sahaba already agreed on it, what are we talking about? So the fact that it's already different on, we need to relax. Most of these issues are old issues that have been disagreed upon for over 1,000 years already. These are the issues, most of them, except for stuff like, new stuff, cloning and stuff like that, new stuff that pop up. Most of this stuff is old. He says, number one, when it comes to the issues where they agree, what do we do? He said, first of all, we need to find out, why are they even different? But we already did that. We looked at the hadith and they're saying what? The hadith you're using is not authentic. So I don't agree that that's a proof. Or you're using one of the six. Remember we said there's four they agree on and there's six that they disagree on if they even prove. You're using one of the six, right? That's from the first class. Or yes, the hadith is authentic, but it doesn't mean what you're saying it means. Therefore, at the end of it, they differ. So we already got past that. He said the second issue is, what do we do? Min ittiba'ihim. Who do we follow? Which position do we follow? He says, أيتبع الإنسان إماما لا يخرج عن قوله ولو كان الصواب مع غيره كعادة المتعصبين للمذاهب. Is a person supposed to follow, pick an imam and just follow him all the time? Even if the correct opinion or position is with another madhab, is a person supposed to do that? He said, or does a person يتبع ما ترجع عنده من دليل ولو كان مخالفا لما ينتسب إليه من هؤلاء الأئمة? Or does a person follow the proof, the evidence, the dalil, even if it goes against, for example, Hanbali, right? But that doesn't mean I won't follow Imam Shafi'i if the dalil is more strong, if the dalil is stronger in that issue. What is a person supposed to do? He said this is the issue. He says, now, this is important. and I think we did speak about this already. We spoke about the three categories of people, right? Huh? Who are the three categories of people? The scholar. Uh-huh. The students of knowledge and the general Muslim. The general Muslims, they make salat, they're Muslims. They're not students of knowledge. They're not scholars. They're Muslims, they pray, worship Allah, and live life. Tayyib? It's important to remember that because, as he says here, الناس ينقسمون في هذا الباب إلى ثلاث أقسام. He said the people break down when it comes to this. And the issue we're talking about, the people are in three categories, just like we spoke about. Everybody walking around fits in the one or of the three categories. Most of us are where? Oh, I am general people. Most of us in the third category. A super minority of us are students of knowledge, and an even smaller minority can be considered alim. I don't know too many people. I know very few people who I've heard scholars refer to as scholars. I only know one really, for real, Sheikh Tahir, that I personally heard scholars refer to him as a sheikh, alim on that tip. Tayyib. The issue now is when it comes to choosing from the three categories, when it comes to choosing from the three opinions, I'm only using this as an example. It was three opinions for whether to line up and pray by yourself, right? Y'all remember that was three opinions. Say, which opinion do I choose? Now, that's three. This might be confusing. I hope I'm not confusing mine. But let's just do it one at a time. For the person who falls in the category of a scholar, his approach to choosing is not the same as the other two categories. His approach is not the approach of the student of knowledge and the general Muslim. He has a specific approach that it's obligatory for him to approach it and choose. He's not allowed to just blind follow and I'm gonna just follow this sheikh. Not the scholar. The scholar is a person of knowledge. So he has to use all of his tools that he has possibly to get the best answer closest to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet. That makes sense? Everybody with me? Tayyib. The student of knowledge, and he went through it just like this. Let me tell you what he said. He said, the alim razaqahu Allah ilman wa fahman. The scholar who Allah gave knowledge and understanding. That's the first category. He said the second category, talib ilm indahu min al-ilm. The student of knowledge, he has some knowledge, but lakin lam yablagh darajat dhalika al-mutabahhir. He didn't reach the level of a scholar though. And then he says, the ami la yadri shay'an. Just like that. He said the general person who doesn't know anything. They don't know, right? You know our problem? We've taken general people and pushed them into the student of knowledge or the alim category. Everybody's approach is different. He's gonna break it down. The scholar is the way he's supposed to approach it. The general Muslim is not held to the standard of the scholar when it comes to choosing which opinion is correct. Everybody with me? The general person is not held to the standard of the student of knowledge when choosing which position is correct. Everybody with me? What we've done, and Allah forgive us and correct us, we've pushed general people into the wrong category when it comes to different. So now it's chaos, and we make it chaotic. He says, Amal Awal, as far as the scholar is concerned, then this scholar, فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ حَقٌّ أَنْ يَجْتَهِدْ وَأَنْ يَقُولُ. The scholar has the right. He has the haqq base. Why does he have the right? Because he has knowledge and he has the tools. He has the tools to be able to look at the dalil and decipher, why is this strong? Is this weak? When did this happen? Right? He has the ability and the tools to do that, which the other two categories don't have. Student of knowledge may have some of those tools, but he don't have enough. The general Muslim doesn't have any tools to be able to dissect ayat, right? Everybody with me? So the scholar is able to, he has the right to look at the three, study them, do research on them, dissect them, and then when he's done, he chooses and he makes a statement. This is the sunnah and this is why. That's the right of the scholar. Yes.
Doesn't this thing that you're talking about, where like dissect, like you said, dissecting ayah or coming up with something, isn't that the whole point of us calling ourselves Salafi? Because we go to the Salafis, we go to the Sahaba, like the people that came along that chain to get their interpretation of the ayah instead of making our own.
That's from the usul. That's from the usul of how we mastar. They call it mastar al-talaqi. Where are we taking our information from? That's not necessarily this exactly, though. It's a little different. That's what, when it comes to following the minhaj of the salaf, mastar al-talaqi is from those things. What are your referral points? What are you referring back to? We refer back to revelation, dalil. This is the dalil we refer back to. We're not people who refer back to the intellect. That's a whole different issue. طيب. He says, for the scholar, he says, بل يجب عليه أن يقول ما كان مقتضى الدليل عنده مهما خالفه من خالفه من الناس. The scholar, it's obligatory that he says what the dalil points to, no matter who he goes against, no matter who he's in opposition to. The scholar has an obligation to follow the dalil. You was able to look the dalil up, you able to understand it, interpret it, look at all the things, right? You have all of those tools. A person at that level, they have to say what the dalil points to, even if it goes against somebody that they love or their sheikh or something like that. Tayyib? Everybody clear? Tayyib, the student of knowledge. He says the one who Allah gave some knowledge, but it's cold. Settle up. Turn this one on. Did you know? Yeah. Oh, you can turn your niche. Jazakallah khairan. I'm freezing. Jazakallah khair. Tayyib, the talib ilm, the one who Allah gave knowledge, but this person didn't reach the level of a scholar, right? It says there's no problem if they use the tools that they have. And I'm gonna just use numbers, y'all. I'm gonna just use 10. I'm not saying this, I'm just using 10. It's 10 tools you need to be able to pull from the verses of the Quran what's understood, what's the ruling, and really dissect ayat and hadith. It's 10. Scholar has all 10. The student of knowledge might have 4, right? A stronger student of knowledge might have 6. A weaker student of knowledge might have 3. A very strong talib ilm might have 7 or 8. You with me? That's not that. I'm just giving you an example. So let's say the student of knowledge, he doesn't have all of the tools that he needs, but he has some. He has, like, let's just say 4 out of 10, right? He's able to use those 4 out of 10 to try to get as far as he or she can get in doing the research and getting close to the dalil, to the truth as possible. But what happens when the talib ilm gets stuck? He can go no further, or she can go no further. They have to go to somebody with more knowledge. Everybody clear? Yes.
So is it important for us and the student themselves to know their levels?
No doubt.
From themselves, who is more knowledgeable than
Yes, that's why community is important. That's a problem. We don't know our levels, and we don't know the levels of the people in the room. Right now, we don't know the level of the brothers that's sitting in front of us or the sisters that's sitting there. We don't know our levels. And sometimes it's our problem. I don't want you to know my level. May Allah forgive us. I mean, it's very important that we know, or at least I know myself. I should know, listen, I'm regular, man. Let me just, you know what I mean? I'm not that, but he is or she is. That's on you. Go ask them. We should be able to at least judge myself. I should be able to at least know where I fit into one of these 3 categories. That's a huge problem, not knowing where I fit as far as being. It's only 3 categories. Either you're a scholar, you're a student of knowledge, or you're just a general regular Muslim. And there's nothing wrong with being. There's nothing wrong. I hope it don't sound like it's something wrong with being a regular Muslim, like a general Muslim. General Muslims means you're not a person who you haven't taken on the task of doing a higher level of study of Islam. You still study, you still read Quran, you still read Hadith, you still review in the house with your family, with your friends. But talab al-ilm is another level of that. And if I haven't gone through that process, it's fine. I just haven't gone there. But I need to respect the people who went there. Because the people who went to that level in the community, most likely, they're going to be the ones who show the responsibility for the community in a lot of issues. For example, how many people in the masjid are able to lead Taraweeh? Right? It's very few people. So those couple people, those couple brothers, no matter what masjid you go to, Ramadan come around, people be searching around like we need somebody to come over. That's how, right? So those people carry and shoulder the responsibility of us being able to pray and practice a sunnah that if they weren't here, we probably wouldn't be praying Tarawih. Or at least we'll be reading Juz Am every night. Therefore, the people who fall in that category, they've taken on a responsibility that will cover down on the rest of the community. Shouldn't they be respected? Shouldn't we have some type of respect for them people? Huh? Tayyib. He says this person, the student, he's able to use the tools that he has. Let's just say it's 4 out of 10. He uses those until he can go no further, right? He says, وَلَكِنْ يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَكُونَ مُحْتَرِزًا فِي ذَلِكَ. You got to be careful. You don't have all of the tools, student knowledge. Yeah, you have 4 out of 10, but you're still missing a lot. Even if you have 6 out of 10, you're missing 4. And I'm just using the number, y'all. You understand? That's to make a point. Tayyib. He says, and he shouldn't be وَأَلَّا يُقَصِّرُ عَنْ سُؤَالٍ مَنْ هُوَ أَعْلَمْ مِنْهُ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ لِأَنَّهُ قَدْ يُخْطِئُ. He said he shouldn't be a person who falls short when it comes to asking people the knowledge, people more knowledgeable than him. Why? Because the fact that I only have 4 to 10 tools, it's very highly possible that I make a mistake coming to a conclusion, right? If I don't have all the tools, if you're fixing a sink, right? If you're fixing a sink or a toilet, there's certain tools you need. If you don't have all of the tools, you're going to damage something to make it worse. You're going to think you fixed it, and it's still going to be leaking, right? So if I don't have all of the tools as a student of knowledge, it's highly possible that I make a mistake coming to a conclusion. Therefore, what does the talib ilm do? He uses what he has or what she has of knowledge, of tools, until they get to the wall. Once you hit a wall, I can't go no further. Assalamu alaikum ya shaykh. I got a question. This is where I got to. But I don't know, like, I don't understand it from here. Tayyib? Bail me out, Sheikh. I went as far as I can go. Stop right there. The general person, they can't even do that. Right? For the most part, they can't even do that. So it's a different level. The scholar doesn't necessarily need to call. Scholar has the tools he needs to come to a conclusion. You with me? Student of knowledge who's under the scholar doesn't have all of the tools he or she needs to come to a conclusion.
Well, I'm thinking like you got young people that don't have awareness that they going too deep in the water.
No doubt. General people who don't have awareness that they're going too deep. They've gone and entered into, I'm just saying, they've either put themselves or maybe somebody pushed them into thinking that they're in level 2, the realm of a student of knowledge. And this is another problem we have. I'm a general Muslim, and I have, as he mentions, the third, I have a job to do when it comes to these issues of a difference of opinion. I want to put the student of knowledge in my boat. Student of knowledge has a way he's supposed to handle that, he or she. Y'all with me? They have a way that they're supposed to handle these differences of opinion, the student of knowledge. The general person doesn't have any of the tools that they need to really dissect the dalil and stuff like that, ayat, hadith. They don't have the dalil, they don't have the ability to dissect it. They can't go as far as the student of knowledge. Student of knowledge has at least 4 or 5. Y'all with me? You can get like 60 miles out of it, maybe then he got to make a call. The general person they can't go that far. What have we done? We've taken and we've placed the students of knowledge in my category of being a general Muslim. So what does that look like? Why don't you ask the sheikh? Ask the sheikh. Call a sheikh, call a sheikh, call a sheikh. No, you need to call a sheikh for that. The talib ilm doesn't necessarily need the sheikh for that question. That's a question you might need the sheikh for. You with me? But the student of knowledge has more tools than you. Therefore, he or she doesn't need to call the sheikh on those issues that you're talking about. Everybody clear? Now, if a person calls a scholar, nothing wrong with it. That's not the issue. The issue is that we're misplacing people based on us not knowing each other, not knowing enough about each other, and not knowing the reality of these placements. It's levels. Us not knowing that and us not knowing each other, we cause harm a lot of times. I'm sorry.
I was trying to understand the student when he sits with the scholar
Yes.
and the scholar teaches him.
Yes.
He's a student.
Yes.
When he leaves the scholar,
Yes.
he's basically researching on his own.
Yes.
What realm of being a student is that? That's the kind of
We're gonna get to that. Bring that back up. I want to keep it clear, and then we'll go back to that. Everybody clear so far? That's a good point, though. I want to get back to that. So the third category are the general Muslims who don't have the tools, which doesn't mean, y'all, it doesn't mean that the general Muslims can't get the tools. You want the tools? If the general Muslim wants the tools, what do they have to do? Seek knowledge, become a talib ilm. This way, the students of knowledge, they go to the scholars and they do what? They download the tools, for lack of better words. They sit there, learn over time. You know, you're going to be loading real slow. That's talib ilm, long time. And they download those tools. And at the end of your download, you still might only get like 4 or 5 Solomons. You're still missing. Qadarallahu ma shafa'a. So when we say the general Muslims, that doesn't mean a general Muslim can't get the tools. It just means right now, where I'm at right now today, I don't have the tools to do that. A person might say, man, I'm tired of living like this. I want to get the tools. Be a talib ilm. Go to the next level. It's a whole different level. I don't want nobody to think I'm a general Muslim. I can't. No. A general Muslim means right now I don't have the tools. It doesn't mean you can't get them. You can get them if you want them. He says, as far as the general people are concerned, he says, these are the people who are men laysa indahu ilm. They don't have knowledge of what to do, how to dissect and all of that. He says, فَهَذَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَسْأَلَ أَهْلَ الْعِلْمِ. These people, it's obligatory when it comes to these things to ask the people of knowledge, the people who do have knowledge. Based on the ayat where Allah says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. In Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 7. Tayyib, that what's the obligation of the general person? To ask. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't have the tools to dissect it. It's 3 opinions. I'm confused. What am I supposed to do? Ask. Tayyib, this is the next question. Ask who? Tayyib, the people of knowledge. Who are they? The students. Let's start from the top. The Surah Al-Anbiya. 7. Ask the people of knowledge, right? He says, walakin, he said, this is the job of the general Muslim. My job is when I get in the jam, ask. Ask who though? Not any random. Ask people who are known to be people of knowledge, right? He says, walakin man yas'al. Who do you ask? He says, fil balad ulama kathirun. There might be a lot of scholars in a particular area. It might be a lot of scholars in a particular area, right? He says, and then it might be people who people are saying they're scholars, but they might not be. Or it might be people who themselves are telling you, I'm a scholar. Everybody see the confusion? I'm sorry, Father.
When it comes to asking, and you talking about differentiating between like students of knowledge and regular people, is the student of knowledge that went and studied and sat under a scholar, is he held at a higher regard than the person who, say, they might have read a bunch of books by themselves or went over a bunch of books and just read the books. And they might have took notes and, but they just read books by themselves. Is that held as the same regard as the person who went and sat with a teacher?
No, the person, as one of the scholars said, the person, if they're sheikh, if their books are their sheikh, if they take their books as their sheikh, they're going to make more mistakes They're going to be wrong most of the time, and they're going to be right some of the time, if your books are your shit. So the person who sat, we say sat with scholars, meaning they learned from scholars, not literally sat there, y'all. Because people be sitting there, don't mean they understand what's going on. They learn from scholars. Let's say the expectation is that you've gone above and beyond. You're supposed to know more than me. I just read books on my own. You had the opportunity to go there and sit and talk and back and forth. You're supposed to know more. Doesn't mean that the person who read on their own and they're diligent in reading and they're serious about reading, I don't mean they didn't pick up. But if you went and you were sitting with the sheikh, how long? And you're supposed to know some more stuff. You gotta give it to, like, what do you have? It's definitely a different level. I'm sorry, sheikh.
I was gonna say the same thing as when you go to school, college.
Right.
You read a bunch of books, but you have instructors.
Right. You can read books, but then you go to, they got some words in there that might not be clear. Yeah, they English. They're English words, but it might not mean what you think it means when you read it.
The most important thing of sitting with the scholars that you can't get from the book is
The hikmah. Sahih. Sahih. It's a lot of benefits to being, I'm just using these terms because we hear them a lot. It's a lot of benefits to being in the circles of knowledge that you can get from the book. You can't even get it on the live. You can't get it. It's benefits that you're not going to get. It's things that happen in the circle that you can't see on the live. It's things happening in the circle before the live turns on, when the live turns off that the sheikh is doing. It's a lot of things going on. It's things taking place while we live. You just can't see it. It's a lot of things going on. So the origin, the usl is that we go and learn from the people of knowledge. But if a person can't, then we're not saying you're not supposed to do the other things to help yourself.
Even this, it's a difference when just going to class and being there and actually participating and being consistent.
No doubt.
Building a relationship
No doubt.
with your teachers.
That's a whole.
It's not being able to hear this.
It was.
Because watching them from the screen, they can't hear us.
Sah.
So they can't even hear the question.
Sah. The people sitting home, they might not even be able to hear the question. Fadal. So when it comes to this, he says, who to ask? He says, number one, he said, are we saying that it's obligatory? هل نقول يجب عليك أن تتحرى من هو أقرب إلى الصواب فتسأله ثم تأخذ بقوله? Are we saying that it's obligatory for every person? This is under the section who to ask. Who are you supposed to ask? He said, ask the scholars. Who? He says, are we saying that every person, it's obligatory for every person to try to find out who's closest to the truth? Which opinion is close? It's three opinions. Are we saying every person has to find out which opinion is closest to the truth? Right? And then follow that? Questions, how are they going to be able to do that if they don't really have the tools to do that?
You can't. You gotta. You know, I always want forward. I was gonna ask a question about something that you already want to know.
He said, or are we saying ask man shit min man tarahu min ahl al-ilm? Or are we saying that ask whoever you want to ask that you see from the people of knowledge? You see that this person's from the people of knowledge, ask them a question. Now, I'm not going to go into all this, but right now we in what section? We in the section of how does a general Muslim function? Even in this section of how does a general Muslim function, the scholars differ on what the general Muslim is supposed to do. Everybody with me? I'm not going to get into that because that's going to be overkill, right? The person of knowledge has a way they're supposed to carry themselves when they come to these three issues, these three opinions. The students of knowledge have a way they're supposed to carry themselves when it comes to choosing from the three issues, right? The general people have a way they're supposed to carry themselves when it comes to these three issues. What are the general people supposed to do? The scholars differ what they're supposed to do. We're not getting into all that. So yeah, he only mentions two, right? So he says that some of them say that was obligatory on a general Muslim. يجب على العالم أن يسأل من يراه أوثق في علمه من علماء بلده. He said that some of them say that the general person, what's obligatory is that they ask the person who you see to be the most trustworthy person and the strongest in their knowledge from the scholars in your country.
I'm glad he added that word trustworthy.
Trustworthy. Othak. Indik. To you. It's the next issue. What we do is, because you trust him, you assume I trust him. Because you trust his knowledge, you assume I trust his knowledge. I don't trust his knowledge like that. Or I don't trust her knowledge like that. But if you do, alhamdulillah. If you trust his or her knowledge and you ask him or her a question, I ain't tripping. But the problem is that you want me to ask them person, but that person, in my estimation, that's not a person who I see. It's based on what I know about the person. That's not a person who I see that I trust their knowledge. That's some of the problems we have. I want you to ask the people I ask. And if you don't, you're not taking knowledge from the right people. And then we have confusion. You got to take who you, and this is only one of the opinions, yes.
When you in that type of situation, like you said, like where basically somebody's trying to make you say almost that because you don't trust a person's interpretation of the live, they will make it seem like either one, you're not taking the live, or two, you don't trust the person, or make it like they're trying to make it like a personal attack.
Yeah.
When the reality is neither. Does it benefit to emphasize how your problem is with their interpretation?
My problem is with, no, this is what it is. My problem is with, I don't trust him or her in their knowledge, period. Based on what I know about the brother or the sister, I don't trust them in their knowledge. You do trust them. Alhamdulillah, cool. But I'm not asking him or her questions because I don't trust their knowledge. That's it. No harm, no foul. I'm not no disrespecting nobody. I'm going to ask him or her over here. I trust them more. And maybe you don't trust the person I ask. Cool.
Still my bro.
We still brothers. We've made this and turned it into a thing where we can't be brothers anymore. We can't be sisters anymore. And I was listening to something the other day on the same issue. Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili, rahimahullah, Hafidhullah, he mentioned that fact that Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah, and Sheikh bin Baz, they had khilaf in issues. They differed in issues, and they would still praise each other. They lived at the same time. They lived during the same time period. They differed on issues. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, and Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, held that putting the hands back on the chest after ruku', when you come Sami Allahu liman hamidah, the hands go back on the chest. Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah. Sheikh Al-Albani says a bid'ah to put him here. Bid'ah. Hijaziyah, that the scholars in the Hijaz made up. Bid'ah, sunnah, bid'ah. One saying is sunnah, one saying is bid'ah. Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, Sheikh Al-Albani, rahimahullah. They still praise one another. It takes knowledge, though. A lot of times we be arguing with people, going back and forth with people. They don't know. We just be wasting time because they don't know. Tayyib. He says that the person that you trust their knowledge from the ulama in your area. He said, why? He said, and he compared it to, he said, just like anybody would, if you had some type of sickness, what do? You go to a doctor you trust. If you go to a doctor and you don't trust them, what do you do? Huh? You go somewhere else. I don't trust them. He said it's the same way. This is the example he used. He says the animal كما أن الإنسان الذي أصيب بمرض في جسمه فإنه يطلب لمرضه من يراه أقوى معرفة في الأمور الطب. Just like a person gets sick, they're going around looking for the person who is the best doctor. They're looking for the best doctor. He says the same way. You find the person who you see to be the best, the strongest in their knowledge that you trust. Right? This is one opinion of what the general person should do. We could do that after class, Sheikh. Tayyib. He says the other side, the other opinion, what should we do? That's one thing. The other ones, they say, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do it like that. You don't have to find and seek out who's the strongest and all of that, right? He says, why? He says, because the person who you see aqwa ilman, who you see to have the most knowledge, قد لا يكون أعلم في كل مسألة بعينها. Yeah, he or she is the most knowledgeable in your opinion, but that doesn't mean he or she knows this issue. Or does he or she know every issue hands down? So he says, the other ones say, no, you don't have to just find the best out. No, maybe in this issue, yeah, they're the most knowledgeable, but in this issue, I think I need to go to him or her and ask him this question. Everybody clear? And this is called, he says, some of the Sahaba, they used to go to people who were, they call it the Mahdhul. He's not necessarily the most knowledgeable. It's people more knowledgeable around, but in this issue, you need to go to him or her for that question. Everybody clear? The difference? The first opinion is you have to seek out the person who has the most knowledge that you trust with, that you trust their knowledge, and ask them. They're not saying obligatory. Just like you got to seek out a doctor, that's the best doctor. They say it's obligatory for the general Muslim. You come up with an issue, it's obligatory that you go find. Just like you would go find the best doctor, go find the most knowledgeable scholar in your area, the most knowledgeable person in your area, ask them. The others say, no. You don't have to find the most knowledgeable person because it's possible they're the most knowledgeable person, but in this issue, they may not know this issue that well, which proves what? This Sheikh Uthaymeen, that's not me. Listen to the question. He said, it's possible the scholar is the most knowledgeable, but in this issue, he says, in this issue, لا يكون أعلم في كل مسألة بعينها. They might not be the most knowledgeable in every single issue, which means what? People have strengths. Who? What people? The people of knowledge have strengths and weaknesses. The humans, they have strengths, they have weaknesses. That's no disrespect. That doesn't remove them from being in that level of being an alim. They still in that first tier. They still top tier. They still have 10 tools to our 0. And if you're a student of knowledge, they still have 10 tools to your 3 or 4 or 5. Even with all the tools, they still have strengths and weaknesses. Which this is why we keep people, we're moderate. We don't go overboard in the human beings. Ghulu. We don't go extreme in people because people are human and they can make mistakes.
So you're telling me that it can't be like one group of people that know who has all the strengths and weaknesses? Like is there how to say? Is it not for one person or one? That's not something for like one person to say who's delegating.
There's no.
Like a depth chart, like you watch sports and you see somebody on a depth chart. He's good at 3 points.
No.
You don't know how can you?
Some people, well, scholars are gonna designate and mention who scholars are. If we're using our situation, for example, I want to use language that's familiar to people. If a brother is in the apprenticeship to be an electrician, right? After his 4 years in apprenticeship and he finishes, right, his schooling and everything, what's his specialty?
He's got to go sit under somebody else.
He's still got to go somewhere and sit under somebody else, but his specialty is what? He's an electrician. He might not be a master electrician yet, but what's his specialty? Tell you going to him for plumbing? Scholars are just like that. Some scholars, their specialty might be hadith. This scholar, his specialty is usul al-fiqh. This scholar, his specialty is fiqh. This scholar, his specialty is the Arabic language. This scholar, his specialty is tafsir. All of them, in the front of their name, it says sheikh. How you know who to go ask? You have to be in the circles of knowledge and know who's who, right? That's another level. Everybody's not held to knowing all of that. You with me? We've placed everybody in the wrong category for the most part.
People think like it's like Imam, they think Imam.
No doubt. The Imam's supposed to know everything. The Imam is. How you don't know that? You the Imam, how you don't know that? I got a quick question, just a little question. This is John Light. That's the assumption, though, which is a good assumption. It's a good assumption. The imam, you should be the most knowledgeable in your community. The imam, the person, the most knowledgeable person should be leading the people and teaching the people in the community. That's what the position is for. Tayyib. Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he says what he sees to be the most correct. Let me see. He says, "Waladhi ara," what I think. That's what Shaykh Uthaymeen says. What I think, this, what I see to be the most correct out of these two. Right? Because if somebody say what I think, we say, man, you can't be saying your own opinion. When is the time you definitely don't have an opinion in these issues? When don't we have an opinion? It's total agreement. It's only one opinion. There's nothing to discuss. When it comes, when the scholars differ, that means everybody didn't agree already. It's not new. It's already a difference of opinion. You're just choosing from the three. How you gonna? You can't make me choose. Like, you with me? He says the one I see. What الذي يرى في هذه المسألة. He says that a person يسأل من يراه أفضل في دينه. He said what I see is that a person asks who they see the best when it comes to their deen, which means what? What's apparent? What you see from them from practice, right? وعلمه, their deen and their knowledge. Everybody clear? He says, but not that it's obligatory for them to do that. I'm not saying it's obligatory that they do that, but he said, I think this actually do. They should look at their deen. See, and this is the problem. You see this brother or sister and you trust her deen, and I don't. So you can go ask them a question. You trust their deen and their knowledge, and you go ask them a question, they give you an answer, and you worship Allah on that. Cool. I don't trust their deen and their knowledge, though. So I'm not asking them a question. Don't be mad at me now because I don't trust them. Now, this is the problem we have. Now the person, she's mad at the sister because the sister won't go to such and such masjid and ask such and such person. She doesn't trust them. How you don't trust them? You really want me to tell you? I don't trust them. I don't have to trust everybody you trust, just like you don't have to trust everybody I trust. But we've taken these type of things and we made them real rigid, where we will not even speak to each other, salams, and we break and call separation. When the early meta, people of knowledge, they're not people, that's not what they teach, and that's not what they're doing. I'm sorry, Sheikh. Tayyib. He says, why? لأن من هو أفضل قد يخطئ في هذه المسألة معينة. He said, because the person who is more knowledgeable, it's possible in this issue, they might not know this issue that well. Doesn't mean necessarily. Doesn't necessarily mean that the most knowledgeable in your eyes knows every issue the best or has the most thorough understanding on every issue. You might say, yeah, he's the most knowledgeable in my opinion, but on this joint, I'm gonna go ask such and such, man. I know that's, you know what I'm saying? Oh, let me finish what he said. He said, and the person that is in this case less knowledgeable, he said, قد يصيب فيها. They might have the correct answer. We're human, y'all. So he said, I'm not saying it's obligatory to do this, but he says this is ala sabil al awwaliyya. He said, basically, I think it's better to take this approach. Look at somebody of knowledge that you trust their deen and their knowledge. Then go ask them. This is the problem, y'all. The problem is this. And I'm going to say it again to make sure we're clear. Just because you trust that brother and his deen and his knowledge doesn't mean I trust that brother and his deen and his knowledge. Therefore, what happens then? That means you're going to ask him or her a question, and they're going to answer you, and you're going to worship Allah like that. Alhamdulillah, no problem. I'm not going to ask that brother or sister a question. Why not? I don't trust their deen and their knowledge. I'm not saying they're not Muslim. I'm not saying they didn't study. I don't trust them. I don't trust their knowledge like that. I don't think I'm going to ask this brother or sister over here who I trust their deen and their knowledge. Everybody clear? The problem is when we do that, we're not enemies now. That doesn't make us enemies for them.
So you emphasize the trust.
Yes.
A lot of us don't understand that trust is established by dealings.
No doubt.
It's not by default.
No doubt. Trust, no doubt. Trust, and there's a couple of things with trust. Number one, let's just use the first thing he mentioned. He says, يسأل من يراه أفضل في دينه. You ask the person who you see to be, in your estimation, you see their deen to be the best. Now, I'm gonna just like this. Let's just say, for example, you know brother such and such, brother Fulan, right? All right. You know brother Fulan, I'm just using, you only known brother Fulan since 2010. I knew brother Fulan since 2000. I got more history with brother Fulan. I don't trust him. Simple as that. I'm not saying I'm Muslim. I'm not saying I'm on the Sunnah. I don't trust him, period. You trust him, ask him a question, live your life. Alhamdulillah, I'm going to go over here and ask somebody else that I trust, and I'm going to worship Allah, and we still good. It's not that deep. We've made it. We made it like that. So I got to cut you off because you won't trust the people I trust. Further.
Would it be like okay to say based off of not necessarily trust all the time? Would it be like you can say wisdom or like experience? Like you might got a question about something that a brother you know he might not be as knowledgeable, but you know he deals with the problem you're going through on a regular basis. So he might be more suited for what you need rather than somebody.
That's why I said al-mafdul, the most knowledgeable might not necessarily have reached the correct answer in every specific case. And that's why I'm saying there's no problem with that. And this is the ulama different. There's other ways that they say we should deal with it. Now this is the question, because some people are going to say, or like some of the ulama said, you sitting with the scholars, you're tolerant. They say, some of them say, when you go back to your people, you might be the sheikh in your area, right? You might be the sheikh based on the level of the people in front of you, the level of your society, meaning the level of knowledge they have. You might be the scholar in your area. But we've been told there are no scholars in America. That's what we were told. There's no scholars in the West. That's what we were told. I'm not saying that's true, y'all. I'm saying that's what we were told. When other ulama are going to say, listen, based on the level of your people, you are the scholar. Y'all the shuyukh over there. Whoever what you learn, you're the sheikh. Now, let's pay attention to this. Pay attention. I'm not saying this is the case. This is an example. They're going to be saying I said I'm a sheikh. I'm not saying that. I want to use the example from what we just read. Let's just say Sheikh Muhammad that was here, Hafidullah al-Harbi, he says, y'all are the ulama over there ain't with y'all people. For example, I'm not saying he said that, y'all. Example, if he says something like that, right? What category does that put myself and Imam Ali in when it comes to these issues of choosing, how to choose? Huh?
You still don't have tools.
All right, let's say this, Jade. Let me rephrase the question. What category are we not in? Not the general people, which means I'm going to deal with something different than you might deal with it. The masses might deal with it a certain way. In the students of knowledge, that small core of people, they might deal with it a different way. What happens is when that happens, the general people, their antennas go up. You see what he did? How you say that? He can't say that. No, you can't say that. You don't have any tools to say that. It's a tolerant. At least he has 4 or 5 out of 10 tools. He can at least use the tools he has to go that far. You don't have any tools to say anything. So what are you supposed to do? Your job is to ask. Everybody clear? Tayyib. He says, and what is this Shaykh Al-Thamaraat? Well, arjah. He says what is more appropriate, and arjah is what people translate usually as like, what's the strongest opinion? That's what people usually say, the strongest opinion. He says al-arjah, wal-arjah. Al-arjah means, in his opinion, in my estimation, Shaykh Al-Thamaraat, that a person, and yas'al man huwa aqrab ila as-sawab li'ilmihi wa wara'ihi wa dinihi. He said, in my opinion, I see what's better is that you ask a person who is closer to the truth. Whoever that you see to be closer to the truth when it comes and looking at their deen, their knowledge, and their wara', which is Not status, nah. Wara is like almost a level of humility and humbleness, and people who are not a person who is not uh, again, not arrogant, overzealous. Yeah, overzealous. They're not. All right, let me explain the example maybe. What you mean by piety? What's piety? What you mean piety?
Like a pious person, like only pious, kind of characteristics of that.
Water is like,
Devout character. Like a person that's very pious.
yeah, but water is a little more than just pious. Water is like, it's an example. It's an example. Don't clip me. I know I'm right. I know the answer, but I'm gonna stand down and just bow out gracefully. I could really go in. Water out of humility. I'm gonna just, right? Which includes piety, but water is a little more, right? I don't know if that work. Inshallah. Tayyib, based on those things. Tayyib. Everybody clear? Where does that put us? All that means that if I'm a general person, what's going to happen is, and the issue is three opinions. I'm gonna read a book from Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah, from Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah, from Sheikh Al-Albani rahimahullah. You might have 3 books with 2 opinions. Have you met any of them? No. Have you heard of them? Yes, I heard of them. Just a question. What is Sheikh Al-Albani famous for? Hadith. Right? What is Sheikh bin Baz famous for? Huh? Aqidah. Tayyib. He was famous for other things too. But what is Sheikh Uthaymeen famous for? Huh? Fiqh usul. Tayyib. That might be the level of knowledge I have about the people. That's it. That's all I have to go off of. They all from the ulama, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all from Ahl Ilm, all ulama. I got 3 books and it's 2 different opinions. I'm gonna read the book. The books is in English. I'm gonna read the book. I'm gonna say, man, this one make more sense. What is that? This one makes more sense, right? And I'm gonna choose from the 3 books. I'm gonna choose a pen. I'm gonna worship Allah like that. You're gonna have another book that says the opposite of what I'm doing. Me and you gonna sit down, go over it. You're gonna say he brought the hadith right here. I'm gonna say, well, the hadith is right here. He brought the hadith, but he explained it here. Well, he explained it here. At the end, this is something where we could say, well, we can agree to disagree. And remember, y'all, these are issues of fiqh. Halal, haram. We're not talking about aqeedah, belief in Allah. None of this has to do with aqeedah. These are all fiqh issues, which I think we spoke about that in the 2nd or the 3rd class, which these are issues connected to our actions, what we do. It has nothing to do with aqeedah. That's a whole different topic, a whole different subject. You trying to play me? Inshallah. Be cautious, hesitate, refrain, abstain, jade. So I could know, but I'm gonna be cautious. Out of cautiousness, I'm not gonna answer the question. But some people, Saajid. Question, hold on, what you say? Oh, yeah, that. And the other person of knowledge, out of water. I can't say it's haram. What you mean you can't say it's haram? This is a general person. Listen, a general person, not according to me, according to this. Let me see what Sheikh Uthaymeen said. This is the general person, the ami, la yadri shay'an. He doesn't have any knowledge, or she doesn't have any knowledge. Going to ask either the talib ilm indahu min al-ilm, who has knowledge. They didn't reach the level of scholarship, but they have knowledge, right? The general person goes to ask the talib ilm a question, and our, for example, imam, whatever the masjid. The imam says, I can't really say that's haram. What you mean you can't say it's haram? The hadith right here. General person, no knowledge, no tools, critiques the person with the tools and the knowledge. Not to say that the general person can't be correct. I'm just talking about the approach, how we come off. What you mean? It's haram. Water, relax, yo. Haram. So, and this what happens a lot, y'all. That's haram. I said haram, haram. So you saying if it's haram, so you saying if a person does this, and that, you know what people say? I ain't saying all that shit. That's what haram means. If you say something's haram, that's what it leads to. That's what you're saying. No, I ain't saying all that. What you saying? I thought we wasn't supposed to be doing that, John. What is like, say it's haram, especially if it's an issue like this where ulama different. We're not talking about stuff that's is alcohol permissible. We're not talking about stuff like that. We're talking about stuff that's khilaf.
That's common too when it comes to labeling people. A lot of us, like, because the community, especially in Philly, like, you'll call somebody a name and you ask them, like, they say, oh, he's an innovator. And you're like, okay, so do you know what comes with them being an innovator? And they're like, no, but they do this, so they're an innovator.
It's the same thing.
It's things that are tied to these titles and these rules that we put on people.
No doubt. You have people who have wara, they hesitate and they're cautious. And then you have people who have jura. These people are stopped. They're ready to say something real quick with no real knowledge. And it doesn't mean, y'all, I don't want nobody to think that a general Muslim cannot attain these tools. These are not secrets. None of this is secret stuff. All of the tools that are out there, as far as knowledge is concerned, everybody's able to get if you want them. It's just about if a person desires to go to that level of study or not. Everybody doesn't desire that. If you desire those tools and you want to be able to go further, then that means you have to go a little further. It's a different level. This statement here is a statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. He says, وَالَّذِي عَلَيْهِ جَمَاهِرُ الْأُمَّةِ أَنَّ الْإِجْتِهَادَ جَائِزٌ فِي الْجُمْلَةِ وَالتَّقْلِيدُ جَائِزٌ فِي الْجُمْلَةِ. He said what the general population of Muslims believe is that, let's take the two ends. What the scholars do in choosing that level, for them to look at it and use all of the tools they have and come up with a ruling at the end, it's permissible for them to do that. They have the knowledge to do that. And what the general Muslim does, they don't have any knowledge. They just ask the sheikh gives them an answer, and they worship Allah. It's permissible for them to do that. But we call that generally, and it's become, taqleed. It's become a bad, like a negative. It holds a negative meaning when people hear it. Blind following. That's how people translate it. Blind following. Right? Blind following. Taqleed. People translate taqleed as blind following, which in reality, all of us are on some level make taqleed. So there's a time, that's what he's saying. There's a time when, I don't even want to use the term blind following, but that's how it's translated. There's a time when, I'll just use it for that. I got blind following is allowed, and then there's a time when blind following is not allowed. For the scholar, he's not allowed to blind follow. Why? He has knowledge and tools to get to the close to the dalil as possible. For the general Muslim, it's a level of blind following they're allowed to do. They don't have the tools to go that deep and sift through the dalil to get to and the closest opinion. Not that everything is allowed blind following. There's a level that's allowed, and that's the point.
Can you, like, the true definition of blind following is tied to, like, proofs and taking the little and things along that matter.
Right.
So could you even say that taqleed like that is even like?
Can you even translate as taqleed? Taqleed is blind following. Allah alam.
Yeah, I would say for what it really, for blind following really is.
Blind following meaning you ask a sheikh a question. Well, I'll say like this. This is the easiest, inshallah. A person takes shahada right now. We're about to pray maghrib. And in order for them to pray maghrib, they have to do what? They got to make wudu. When you go there to make wudu, you just tell them how to make wudu. You don't read them any hadith from Bukhari and Muslim. You turn the water on, say Bismillah. You tell them what to do. Did you give them any dalil? No. Are they blind following you? It's taqleed. If you want to be literally, okay, blind followed you, and he just did what you said do. You ain't give him no dalil. Is there dalil for what you told him to do? Yes, you didn't mention it to him. So there's a level that's allowed, and then there's times when it's not allowed. So the blanket statement as if blind following is never allowed, that's not accurate. It's not accurate.
It's defined as unquestioning adoption or imitation.
So yeah, it's a time for that, and it's a time that's not appropriate. Everybody clear? Not necessarily that every time a person, in our terms, blind follows that they're wrong. There's a time for this and it's a time for that. I can't necessarily say that they're people to labor them. At some point, they blind follow. They don't have enough tools to go any further. So they just go, ask the sheikh a question. He gives them an answer, and they stop there.
So would it be safe to say, just from a lot of what you explained so far, in terms of like the level of the people, general, student, scholar, we can see here in our community that we might all agree, like, imam, for example, imam so-and-so, like you say, we know he at least ain't in the general population. So is it safe to say, because it's so much different from people like imams, imam fulan, whoever, and that it's an interpretation issue, because the only thing, I'm a general Muslim, the only thing I can say, well, he imam, I know I ain't on his level, I'm not questioning him. But just from the tools that we get here in this class, I got enough from this class alone to know that it sounds like it's an interpretation issue, because clearly if imam fulan is saying, yeah, they not this, they not that, blah, 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 blah.
What you mean by interpretation issue?
That they interpret with the tools they have, and the differing from this imam with that imam, that it's their interpretation is them imams over there is wrong. And even though they got the tools that we don't have, and we can see, well, that's not what that means. I'm a general Muslim. That's not what that is.
That's deep.
But
well,
that's what's going on.
Listen,
a lot with this.
This what happens. If we're using tools, I'm using the number 4, right? There's some, hold on. In reality, there's a person and they carry the title of a student of knowledge, but they're really a general Muslim. They're not their level of knowledge. That's just what it is. But people think that he's a student of knowledge. You with me? Everybody with me? I'm not talking about, I'm just saying it's a level. A person can carry the title of a student, and really in reality, his level or her level of knowledge is the level of a general Muslim. They don't have any tools for real. You with me? Therefore, to the general Muslims is what you're saying. He's a student and he's a student, as far as what people know. In the student realm, who you talking about is a general Muslim. He doesn't have any tools. He has the title, but he doesn't have the tools to be able to dissect. The students who have 4 or 5 tools and wherever Allah gives them, they're able to see that he doesn't have any tools. The other general Muslims can't see that he or she doesn't have any tools, so it causes confusion. Because general Muslims don't have the tools, and the student that.
General Muslim might have that one tool to see it. That's why they.
Yes, and that's what some of the ulama say. Some of the ulama say that even the general Muslim is going to be able to tell who has the knowledge or the tools from the person who's just a good speaker, a wa'id. So sometimes it says general. I don't want people to take the word general Muslim as a negative term, because it's general Muslims who are able to see through the nonsense and able to say, yo, I know that's not right. I don't know everything, or I'll do it like this, because the first step to being able to be a serious student of knowledge is what? The niyyah, after the niyyah. What knowledge? No, let me rephrase the question. I'm talking subject. I'm gonna give y'all the answer. All that's cool, but all right. What's the first thing the Taliban? If I'm serious, I'm trying to take this to another level, right? What do I need to? What am I definitely gonna need?
Quran.
How am I getting knowledge of the Quran?
Learn.
Learning what? Arabic. I'm gonna need Arabic, right? I want to read the books on Tawheed. I want to read the books on Adab. I'm gonna need the Arabic language. Quran, I'm gonna need the Arabic language. Tayyib. How much Arabic I need to know? Because there's a lot of people walking around can say some Arabic words. You feel what I'm saying? And if that was the case, I'm gonna use somewhere where maybe nobody went in our area, because I don't want nobody to start trying to zone in. Oh, you must be talking about him. I ain't talking about nobody. But that's exactly what I was gonna say, because this is a brother from Mauritania coming. Nobody here went to Mauritania. Brother went to Mauritania. He was there for, let's say he was there for 6 months. He went to go learn Arabic. He came back in 6 months. Allah gave him what he gave him from knowledge of whatever he got in 6 months. He had to come back. Alhamdulillah. When he comes back, in our locality, generally, people start student. He becomes a student to us, right? He becomes a student. How much Arabic did he really learn in six months? How fluent is his Arabic? How understanding? He could know that little bit of Arabic and still be a general, knowledge-wise, still be a general person, knowledge-wise. You with me? Everybody with me? Like, when that happens, the fact that in our terms, a general person sees him as a student of knowledge, that doesn't necessarily mean other students who have the more tools may recognize him as not saying he's an army, no disrespect, but you are able to recognize his or her level.
Also, on the Arabic, you could have went over there and did 6 months and got good at Arabic just from talking to people.
You could have.
And you could.
It could be conversational Arabic. You could have went somewhere and got your conversational Arabic up, which it doesn't translate to understanding when you read the books of the ulama.
What is a general Muslim like according to this culture? Because I know like when he coined that phrase, he probably like talking about their culture, but like over there.
A general Muslim is
a person that just prays 5 times a day, or
a Muslim pray 5 times a day, walking, minding their business. They're not a person who's dedicated to learning. A talib ilm is dedicated to learning. Student of knowledge is dedicated to learning all the time. And if you want to get on a real level, you got to be learning some Arabic. You got to be bumping it up, not a casual read. We Muslim, y'all. We like to know about our deen. We read books. We buy books on our deen and we read about them to be learn about our deen casually. You with me? A student of knowledge goes above a casual learning, not casual learning. Everything is learning. No time for nothing except learning. All the obligations I have, I fulfill my obligations and I'm learning. That's the Taliban. Most people are not that in no society. It's not like the majority of people in Mecca is Talib. You know what I'm saying? Or Medina. It's a group of people in Mecca, Medina that's doing that. And then it's regular, everybody else is just regular Muslims, which is fine. Regular Muslim is not a slur. Layman, I don't use that word personally, but that's what a lot of people say. I just say you're just a regular Muslim, and we general trying to learn your deen and fear Allah. That's just a regular Muslim. That they haven't bumped it up to the point where all my time is dedicated to learning deen. I got to go to the market, but when I get home, I got to hit the books. Kids got to go, I got to deal with them, then I got to get back to that's talab al-ilm. You with me? If a person's not doing that, and everybody doesn't have to do that. But the people who doing that, then they're going to fall in a certain category. And the people who don't are going to be in another category.
Like you said earlier, right? You need to have a teacher. You can't just be in the books. You got to actually sit down with a teacher.
Yes, you definitely need a teacher. Definitely need a teacher. I ain't trying to be funny, but a lot of us might not know what learning looks like. Learning is not, I'm not going to say it's not learning. Talib al-ilm is not just, I sit around and read books. At some point, I have to go to a teacher. At some point, I have to be checked and corrected. At some point. Where does that start? What level? All that's up for debate, depending on where you at, what level you at, how far are you trying to go? How far are you trying to go? It depends. But for sure, it's not the same. It's not if they were the same, like Shay was, he wouldn't have mentioned the 3 different categories. It's 3 different categories. If I'm a general Muslim, a regular Muslim, it's not no disrespect. There's nothing wrong with that, because a general Muslim doesn't, even though they don't have knowledge, they're not under the threat of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the case where he said that one of the first people thrown in the hellfire will be a person who learned knowledge for people to say they're knowledgeable. General Muslim could just be a worshiper, right? And their reward is with Allah. And that's a big thing. Being a worshiper is a big thing. It's not just a worshiper. We're all worshipers of Allah, but like I was saying before, the abid is a person who goes to the next level in worship. They're doing more, not making up stuff, no bid'ah, right? They're doing more. They don't miss the sunnahs before Fajr, the sunnahs before Dhuhr, the sunnahs after Dhuhr, sunnahs after Maghrib, sunnahs after. They don't miss those. The abid doesn't miss those. They don't miss duha. Then they're doing duha. They're fasting voluntary fast, right? That's the abid, who doesn't necessarily have all of this knowledge, but they know this is from the sunnah. The salat al-duha is from the sunnah. Cool. What time does that start? It starts when the sun rose. What time is that on the thing? That's like 6:15. So after 6:15, I can pray? Yeah. The abid, general Muslim, not a tolerant, he or she waits every day after Fajr until that time. They stand up and they pray duha. Abid. Dhuhr comes, they pray the sunnahs before Dhuhr, the sunnahs after Dhuhr. They pray the sunnahs before Fajr. They pray the sunnahs when they enter the masjid. They pray Fajr. After Fajr, they sit and make the adhkar in the morning. Worship. They fast and trying to fast Monday. That's the abid, always in worship. And it doesn't necessitate that they have all the knowledge. It doesn't necessitate that he's going to lead the salat. But they have worship. Yes. I'm listening.
I think a lot of us, we complicate it. It's that simple. Like even when it comes to like knowledge, you go ask a person where to do Quran, where to do Arabic, they tell you where to go, you go. It's not a big, it's not way to cheat it, right? It's no way to get around it, no shortcut. You gotta do it.
You got to do it. You have to want to do it, number one. You have to want to do it. And then once you start, you have to be consistent. You have to be patient, because it doesn't happen overnight. Like Sheikh Abdul Majid Hafidullah told us, when we took him that newsletter we was trying to do, he said, I don't want y'all to, we was trying to do a newsletter. He said, I don't want y'all to let this newsletter take y'all off track from studying. Because y'all, antum fi bidayat at-tariq. He said, y'all in the beginning of the path to knowledge. Y'all just started. And the path of knowledge is long and difficult. And at that time, I was there like 2 years. And Ali and Jamil might have been there like 4 years. And he still said, antum fi bidayat at-tariq. Y'all in the beginning, y'all just starting. So don't let this newsletter y'all trying to do, y'all translating fatwa. That's exactly what he said to us. He said, don't want y'all to think just because y'all translating the fatwa from Sheikh bin Baz that y'all learn some type of ilm, that y'all learn some knowledge. Y'all still in the beginning, so don't let this distract y'all from y'all knowledge. Yeah, if y'all want to do that, if y'all want to be translators, y'all got enough to be translators. Y'all can go ahead. Don't let this distract y'all from y'all learning. Y'all here to learn. If y'all just want to translate, then y'all got enough to translate. Y'all can go ahead. But if y'all want to do ilm, don't let this newsletter take y'all off the path of learning, because y'all just starting. And they was ahead of me by 2 years. They was already 4 years in, maybe 4.5. 4.5 years in, Sheikh says y'all still in the beginning. We know years in and know everything. How that work? It doesn't. And that's why we have the type of chaos and miscommunications we having. It's time to pray.
No.
Thought we could stop there, inshallah. Fadal.
You asked a question earlier. You told me.
Oh yeah, what'd you say, Yusuf?
I was just, the fifth issue of us knowing the tools, even though as general people, we don't have the ability to apply them, but
Right.
we know them.
Right. Yeah,
So
good.
now knowing them should make it very clear that if a sheikh gives a position about another sheikh, there's no obligation here.
Right. I'm glad you said us. Like you said, us right now, we've learned that what we learned here is that the tools exist. That don't mean y'all know how to use them. So it's not for everybody to jump up now and say, well, I'm gonna start doing my own. No. People still the general people. Our job, all we're gonna do is we're gonna look just like we do, just like we've been doing. It's two books and they saying two different things. For example, real live example, if you pick up Sheikh Al-Albani's book, Sifat Salat al-Nabi, he said putting the hands on ruku, on the chest after ruku is bid'ah. In his book, Sifat, the Prophet's Prayer Described. If you read Sheikh bin Baz's book or Sheikh Uthaymeen's book, rahimahullah, on Salat, they say it's sunnah to put the hands on the chest back after ruku. Sami Allah Muhammad Rabbana wa lakal hamd. If you got both books in the house, you're going to read through both of them. In this book, it's on page 34 and 35, and on this book, it's on page 16 and 17. You're going to read both of them, and what you're going to do, you're going to choose one, and that's how you're going to worship Allah. That's it. That's what we're charged to do. As a general Muslim, that's all I'm charged to do. That's my obligation. I don't have to make anything up. I have what I have, and that's how I worship Allah. The problem that we do is we take, because you took Sheikh Al-Albani's, you want me to take Sheikh Al-Albani's. Or because you took Sheikh bin Baz's opinion in his book, you want everybody in the masjid to follow that. And that's the problem. That's the problem. You can't force me. To me, this one makes more sense based on the dalil that he brought. And to you, that one makes more sense. We still brothers, huh?
It's like sports. My Kobe brother.
You want from cheesesteak to sports, man. Come on, Sheikh.
You ain't my man no more.
Yeah, no doubt. We not that's where it takes us. It takes us there that we can't even talk. We take these two books from both scholars of the Sunnah, and because you took one and I took the other, now we can't talk. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Which shows our level of ignorance. It shows that yes, I am in the level of a general Muslim. I don't have any tools. Because if I had the tools, I would know that's not the response. May Allah forgive us and make us better. We can stop there, inshallah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam barak bina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Whoa.
You know, it's crazy. I didn't even know we taught it to Senator. He did like a joint talking about like people that know and that don't know.
Uh-huh.
Said the worst